There must be some mistake. None of these pigs are my parents. Welcome to the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Shane.
And I'm Ryan. We are not pigs.
No, but our parents are apparently. In the second spirit world that we've magically teleported to through a tunnel. But yeah, this week we're talking Studio Ghibli. The episode is called Spirited Away Totoro. So we're talking My Neighbor Totoro and Spirited Away. Uh, and we're gonna do it in normally we do it in the order of like the title. So we normally would do Spirited Away, then My Neighbor Totoro. But this week we're gonna flip it to do it chronologically, and because I think it makes the most sense for these movies. But yeah, it should be a really fun episode. But before we get into the movies and go in depth with spoilers and all that, we're gonna do some non-spoiler talk of what we've seen recently. So Ryan, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Um, I'll start with something I just watched yesterday. Wait, no, the day before, whatever, recently in theaters, Novocaine, um, which is the Jack Quaid movie where he can't feel pain and then he
Yep.
tries to like save someone after a bank robbery. And it was, I would say, a little disappointing. Um, it has a weird tone imbalance because, as you might suspect, since he can't feel pain, I think it's all in the trailers, you kind of see him get brutalized quite a bit. But it's not really fun or cathartic like gore or anything, right? It's your hero, right? You're just watching him get, I don't know, whatever. I didn't love it, but
Mm.
I could see, I mean, I think some people like it, but it also has a lot of like Marvel humor, and I didn't love that either. So
Oh yeah. There you go.
it
Yeah,
felt
I
like a
haven't.
Deadpool origin story.
Oh geez. All right. Well, that's now I haven't seen it yet, and I'm going to the movies in a few days, and I had a few options, and Novocaine was on the table, and I decided against it. I'm going to see Ash instead, the new movie by Flying Lotus. So
Nice.
that looks kind of that looked more unique. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But one thing I did see, and I think you saw also, is Mickey 17,
That's
new
right.
Bong Joon-ho movie. Robert Pattinson plays, well, I guess like 18 different versions of Mickey Barnes, or 19, I guess technically, because there's the original version. Um, Mickey Zero, I guess. But yeah, this was a very unique movie. A lot of doubles and clones and twins and stuff in movies this year, which is kind of weird. Uh, but yeah, what did you think of Mickey 17? I'm curious.
Yeah, I liked it quite a lot. I think it had a lot of Snowpiercer energy in my brain. Um, and I really enjoyed a lot of that. I think I had some issues with it, but overall I really enjoyed it and I thought it was a blast. There was a lot of space theme stuff which I enjoyed. Yeah.
Yep.
What did you think overall?
I liked it. It was a little bit of a mixed bag, but yeah, I did like the sci-fi, and the satire was obviously very like heavy, kind of heavy-handed, but not in a bad way. But the ending left me a little unsatisfied. It felt like a little too, a little too nice. Like it kind of wraps things up pretty nicely. And for most of the movie, it's like humans are awful and selfish and stupid, and look at how awful this leader is and his wife, and like it kind of makes you hate them. And then the ending didn't quite give me like the satisfaction I wanted. It just kind of wrapped it. I don't know. It it wasn't perfect, like Steven Yeun is really great, but his character is kind of like wasted a little bit. Like he's almost unnecessary to the movie. Um, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on. So it's kind of a mixed bag. And I do see the Snowpiercer similarities. I think they're both lesser Bong movies for me, but one benefit to Mickey 17, it doesn't have the awful shaky cam of Snowpiercer, which Snowpiercer only has that in a couple scenes, a couple action scenes, but I'm glad he is not doing that again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean really the main issues I had with the movie are pretty much what you said too. I think yeah, it felt like too much of like a nice bow on the top at the end, and I didn't expect. I mean, thinking of Snowpiercer, I didn't expect that. You know, I felt so much Snowpiercer energy in this movie that I expected a very different ending. Which, you know, I don't know if I wanted a very different one, but it did feel too nice.
Yeah.
And uh, and I think overall, like I just thought some of the character stuff was a little undercooked, like Stephen Yoon and also the
His like girlfriend character or the
both of them really. Yeah, the girlfriend
yeah.
character and the other one that
The other sort of
that's
love interest that's like bisexual or something, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think Mickey was really well developed as a character and an interesting look at like different aspects of the same person that are coming out each time, which is interesting. But then
Yeah.
everyone else kind of felt very eh, you know?
Yeah. I get that. And there's a lot of characters, a lot of storylines, a lot like there's just a lot going on. So I get that. But yeah, I do think one interesting thing in the movie is the way each Mickey has sort of different personality and it's sort of like you're sold the idea that when you die you come back, but in reality it's like this is probably a new individual, a new soul, a new person, whatever, however you want to describe it, uh, with each one. These are new people just with the same memories and physical body. But I think Mickey Zero, when he dies, I think the consciousness in Mickey One is like a new consciousness. And then each one
Interesting.
is different, right?
Yeah, it does seem like that.
But
I
they would
kind of
never,
interpret that different, but I could see that's an interesting idea. Yeah.
well, I mean, by like that's kind of why Mickey 17 doesn't want to die, right? Because he's like, well, I believed that I was just going to be reborn again, but now I'm like, well, I'm not going to be reborn again because you are already here. So you're a separate person than I am. So I can't
Yes.
I can't be reborn into you because you're already here, kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. I think I like interpreted that whole like I can't be reborn again thing a little different. And I don't know if I can really even explain. Like I think just in the moment, I don't know if I fully connected it. But yeah, that's interesting. I think it was it was interesting with the just the dichotomy between the two Mickeys that were around, right? And
Yeah.
I thought that the movie did a really good job of uh well, first of all, Robert Pattinson did a great job. Like
Yeah.
really good, fantastic. I mean, as expected, I guess, um but I think the movie overall did a good job at like showing us those differences and playing off them in a interesting way. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, Pattinson has like a lot of range. Even obviously you can see it in different movies that he's in, like, but in this movie, him playing these different personalities and making them very distinct, where pretty much at all times it's never confusing as to which Mickey is which, just because his performance is very distinct for each one of them, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, not a perfect movie or anything like that, but I'm happy I saw it in theaters and I did enjoy it, I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it, even if certain aspects were a little disappointing.
Yeah. I also gotta just real quick point out in that movie the 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 alien design was super cool.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that's too much of a spoil. No, you see it in the trailer, I think. So anything in the trailer is fair game. But you see the aliens briefly in the trailer, and the design of them overall is just fantastic. And
Yeah.
I loved that. And they looked great in the movie, and yeah, real fun.
Yeah. I really like when movies have aliens that are not like humanoid and they're different. And they're also very cute.
Yeah.
Like yeah, not to get
Oh
into
yeah.
too much about it, but yeah. But that's the thing, like they're really cute and like cuddly almost, but then you see horrific things happen to them, and then you're like, I want this character to be like like burst into a million pieces. You know what I mean? I want like vengeance against the bad characters. And I feel like the movie didn't quite give me that. And maybe hey, this probably has come up on several episodes. I'm kind of a bloodthirsty movie watcher sometimes. I like revenge. I like seeing and I also like movies that, that question that and
Yeah.
question if revenge is actually good or not. But sometimes, like, I kind of want to see A Working Man, the new Jason Statham movie. Does it look like a good movie? Not necessarily, but it looks like something that I would enjoy to see him murder a bunch of sex traffickers, sort of Taken style. That sounds awesome. I'd love
Yeah,
that. You establish these people as awful, horrible people, and then you murder them satisfyingly for the audience. It's awesome. And I feel like this movie, like the villains are so awful that I just wanted more of like a cathartic ending for them.
yeah,
But and it, if you're not gonna go that way, I feel like it maybe would have been better for my experience if the characters were a little more nuanced or subtle and not so blatantly the worst humans you've ever seen. Like the
yeah.
worst aspects of Elon Musk and the worst aspects of Donald Trump and probably a bunch of other horrible people just all rolled into one. It's like anyway.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And again, like the analogs to Snowpiercer in like the way that that movie treats the ending. Uh, I don't think that's a perfect ending either, but yeah, I don't know. I
A
think
lot it's a lot
yeah.
more like cynical of an ending kind of though. This
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah. And I kind of I guess I just expected it to kind of go that way during this
Mm.
because I saw that similarity and was kind of prepared for that. And then when it didn't happen and it also wasn't that cathartic ending that you were talking about, um, I was like, huh, interesting. It
Yeah.
didn't feel very, yeah, I don't know. Didn't feel very satisfying for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And
overall, the movie I thought was satisfying.
yes. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, Mickey 17, there it is. And I mean, another thing that we mentioned that we both had seen was Black Bag, the new Steven Soderbergh movie, his second movie in like 2 months. Uh, this one, I think we talked about Presence on the show a little bit and how I didn't like it at all. Well, I liked the idea at the beginning, but then the story just turned into shit for me. But Black Bag blew me away. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Just like had me on the edge of my seat, wondering what's going on. The incredibly well paced, like basically a 90-minute movie that's complicated and has all these interesting characters and everyone has their own motivations. And I thought it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked Black Bag quite a bit as well. I didn't particularly love some of the writing. I thought there was some lines where I was like, okay, just classic annoying writing in some aspects, but overall, I thought it was pretty awesome. I feel like it was also interesting. Like it felt more like I was not expecting it to be so like murder mystery esque in a way. Like not actually about a murder mystery, but it was very much like unraveling a mystery instead of like a spy thriller or something.
Yeah, it sort of is a whodunit nature to the story, trying to figure out who the traitor is, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
But
was
yeah,
I thought he did a fantastic job with the direction of that movie and it also just I think looked really nice. I don't know who the cinematographer was, but
Steven
I feel
Soderbergh.
like oh, shoot.
Yeah, he shoots a lot of his own movies. Yeah, now
That's
at least.
right. Wow. Well,
I
yeah.
believe he also edited it.
Well, in that case, he did a good job with the direction and the cinematography.
Yep, and the editing. I'm pretty sure he did it all. Yep, director, cinematographer, editor, and then David Kep was the is the writer who also wrote Presence and who also
Yeah.
wrote Kimmy, which I think this is more in line with Kimmy as far as a uh, like an intelligent thriller that I really enjoyed rather than a just a dumb movie that I thought Presence was. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. And I enjoyed the plot of this movie a lot and I thought it was I thought it was also pretty well paced, but I did find some like I said I think I found some similar quirks in the writing as in as in Presence. Which
I
I always
didn't
want to call the
mind.
Presence. But
I think because maybe part of it is that these people are all like weird. They're in this like spy world and they all are trying to trick each other. They all think they're right. They're all kind of assholes in their own way.
mhm.
That I don't know what you mean necessarily by annoying dialogue, but if they said something that was kind of like snarky, it's like, well, yeah, they're like assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but in Presence, when characters were saying and acting in weird ways, they're just supposed to be like normal, average, everyday people. So I think maybe it bothered me more.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
but yeah, I don't know. Definitely like I also liked him. in Black Bag that all the characters felt very unique and like Michael Fassbender in particular is sort of this like kind of control freak, a little like OCD-ish, a little I don't know, and Kate Blanchett is like totally different and all there's really six main characters and they all have unique personalities that I think were pretty well written and fleshed out and felt real to me rather than sort of all just feeling like coming from one writer's mouth, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I thought the characters were well designed and pretty well acted. I mean, I think uh, even some of the people that I didn't recognize, I thought were fine. But yeah, I thought it was
Yeah,
a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it.
nice. Yeah, I think Fassbender and Blanchett were really great. They're like pretty much the main characters. I think they're awesome, which normally they are. But yeah, the supporting characters are also very good. And I didn't realize this till afterwards, but Tom Burke plays Freddy, who's sort of he's the one with the beard. He's
Hmm.
the white guy with the beard that's not yeah. Anyway. And he is all in Only God Forgives, which we talked about last episode on our underrated movies. He plays Ryan Gosling's brother, who
That's funny.
yeah, and he is. I mean, he's brutally murdered early on in the movie and sets off the chain of events. But he's same guy, so that's a connection. And another little connection to Only God Forgives. Another thing I watched this week was My Life, directed by Refn, which is a behind the scenes documentary about the production of Only God Forgives.
Hey,
I had
nice.
actually never seen it before, and I ended up watching it, and it's sort of in the same vein as like Hearts of Darkness or Burden of Dreams or something of a filmmaker trying to make a movie, but it doesn't have like they're just filming in Thailand. It's not as dramatic as like uh filming in like a jungle or something like that. Um, but yeah, definitely an interesting look at the behind the scenes of the movie and the stresses of it, and it doesn't necessarily make me want to make a movie. It seems like it would be a stressful and difficult process in some ways. But Ryan Gosling, very charming guy in movies and behind the scenes. So there you go. Also, the movie is directed by Nicholas Winding Refn's wife. So a lot of the scenes are her filming and it's him with their kids or just him like in bed, like stressed, like, oh my God, this movie's gonna be a piece of shit. Oh, what are people gonna think of it? Stuff like that. But it's only like 60 minutes and I thought it was very good. So wanted to put
Nice.
it out there.
Was that on? Do you have the Blu-ray? Was that on the Blu-ray or?
No, it's like kind of its own
Oh,
thing.
cool.
I watched it on something. Oh man. Oh, I think I watched it on Fandango at home, and it was
Nice.
free with ads.
Nice.
So sort of like watching it on Tubi or something like that. But yeah,
Nice. That's awesome. Also, something I watched recently that connects back to last week, where we talked about um, some underrated movies, is I got to watch Spring Breakers in IMAX for some reason, which was a crazy coincidence that they were showing it at the theater right next to me, just as like a throwback, A24 throwback day or something, and it was like days after we had just recorded, and I was like, how is this real? Like, what is going on? And it was real, and I went to go to see it, and it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. The colors and the cinematography and some of the weird stuff they do with the cinematography was really cool, and I particularly like when they were like showing people kind of under the influence or something. Like instead of doing the normal like stupid not necessarily stupid but kind of cliche like drug view or whatever, right? It was like things got like foggy and glossy and stuff, and it was really interesting, and overall I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a blast. Definitely underrated, so good
yeah.
pick, Shane.
Thank you. Yes, that's why I was on my list. Great movie. There's like that awesome shot when at toward the beginning when they're robbing the diner and you're in the car going around as they're doing it. Um, yeah, and just really just an awesome movie. So I'm glad you saw
Yeah.
it. Funny enough, I watched a Harmony Korine related thing. I don't know who, there's no credited director on it, but it's on the Edgelord YouTube channel, EDGLRD, which is sort of a, I don't know, a creative project Harmony Korine is on, and he's making movies. He made Aggro Drift, and he has Baby Invasion that's coming out soon. Um, there's like short films, there's music videos, and video games. Also, he has a video game that's coming out soon. Um, so, yeah, and what I watched is called Point Cloud. It's a like 20-25 minute skate video with these crazy sort I think AI or animation something, these surreal interludes and like intro and outro. And I think what Harmony Korine is doing is like it feels like we're looking into the future of what life is going to be like with like these crazy colors and just strange. I don't know. It's just really. I think it's really cool. I really like it. The skating itself, there was some cool moments. I don't know that it's necessarily the greatest skate video I've ever seen, uh, but it's like the just the way it's all put together and with these strange, colorful, surreal effects. Sometimes on top of the skaters, sometimes whatever, and also the music is like children's choirs, like songs. It's not like either like rap or rock music, which is normal for a skate video. It's like children's choirs singing these songs, and it's very, very strange for a skate video, but I really liked it. So
Wow.
yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah. So yeah, you can go to the Edgelord YouTube channel or they have a website. You can watch some of their stuff. It's kind of cool.
Wow. That is interesting. And it sounds like at least that one's fairly short. You said it's like 20 something minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Yep. So that was
Nice.
another Harmony Korine related thing. Couple other things I wanted to mention in what we've seen recently. I watched Manhunter, which is I've been catching up on Michael Mann movies that I haven't seen yet, and great movie, maybe my favorite Michael Mann movie. Uh, uh Comparable to Sounds of the Lambs, maybe not quite as great, but pretty awesome movie. Definitely has all of Michael Mann's like signature ideas and the things that he loves and repeats in a bunch of his movies. Um, but yeah, pretty awesome movie. I also watched another movie that I would consider probably underrated as well. Death Becomes Her, a comedy from the 90s directed by Robert Zemeckis. Uh I believe it came out between like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Forrest Gump, maybe. But yeah, Bruce Willis is like a plastic surgeon who then later on he like does makeup for corpses. And uh, Goldie Hawn was his ex-girlfriend. He's married to Meryl Streep, and there's a potion that gives you eternal life. And then because you have eternal life, your body can go through all these crazy CGI effects and you won't die. So that's where the movie goes. And it's like this crazy dark comedy. And I was kind of poorly received when it came out, I think, but it's probably my favorite Robert Zemeckis movie. I'm not a fan of Robert Zemeckis, like
Wow.
at all, to be honest. It's just not my vibe. But this one's legitimately really, really funny and just really good. Good to see Bruce Willis in a good role again. Not again, but like to go back to him
Yeah.
being in a good role, you know.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, pretty awesome movie. And the
um,
type of movie that just doesn't get made anymore. Like to spend so much money and have these big stars in a comedy
yeah.
is awesome.
That's funny. What was that one called again? You gotta tell me again.
Death Becomes Her
Death Becomes Her.
from
I, I'm
1992.
I'm putting that on my watch list right away.
It's awesome. It's streaming on Peacock. Obviously you can rent it anywhere, I'm sure.
Cool,
But yeah.
nice.
Was there anything else that you have seen recently that you wanted to mention?
You know what? Last one, I'll mention Lolita, which is a part of this. I'm watching through Stanley Kubrick's filmography in chronological order, um, and it's been a busy couple of weeks with work, but I did manage to get Lolita in, which was longer than I wanted and not as enjoyable as I wanted, but it's okay. It's I think it's interesting that he made the movie. Like I think it's interesting at a time when it was going to be hard to make that type of movie, right? I mean, that book must be hard to convert to a movie no matter what you do. But like, especially at the time when there was so much censorship and restrictions in Hollywood, with like the Hays Code and everything, it was interesting that he made it, and I think it holds like an interesting place in cinema history and in his filmography. But I didn't particularly like it. But yeah, and now I watched Doctor Strangelove not too long ago, like last year. So I've been saving 2001 for like a nice day to bunker in and rewatch 2001. Um,
Nice.
and yeah, so I mean, there it is, there it is.
There it is.
So I am very excited.
Yeah.
2001. Oh man, what a movie!
Yeah. Now you have like arguably one of the greatest runs of all time. Of
Yeah.
You got 2001, Clockwork Orange, Barry Lyndon, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket,
Oh
Eyes Wide
yeah.
Shut. And I mean Doctor Strangelove too. That's a 7 movie run. That's fucking
Fantastic.
incredible. Over
Yeah.
35 years.
Crazy the diversity and range in movies that he makes, like just in
Yeah.
genre even, right? But then yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to some of these will be rewatches, which is nice. Like 2001, I've seen um one of my favorite movies of all time, and very excited to bunker in and rewatch that one. And yeah, so that's gonna be a blast, and I am glad that I don't want to say I'm glad I'm through Lolita. I'm glad I watched it. I think it's interesting, but yeah, I don't think it's a movie for everyone, you know?
Yeah, it's probably like it's probably my least favorite of his movies, aside from maybe like Fear and Desire and Killer's Kiss, which are sort of like film school type of thing, like he's still in training.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's I maybe I could rewatch it, but I don't know. I remember not liking it very much whenever I watched it years ago.
Yeah.
But
But that's all right.
I'm glad you're Kubrick, you're into the home stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be it'll be, I mean, if I just sat down to like every day watch one of these movies for like the next, like that would be like a hell of a week, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be sick. Cool. Well, we've yapped long enough. I feel like we should probably get into the actual movies that the episode's about.
Wait, we're talking about other movies?
I
Oh
know,
crap.
right? Right. Okay. So, spoiler alert: if you haven't seen My Neighbor Totoro or Spirited Away, we're gonna get into spoilers. So go watch them. They're both great. Uh, yeah. So we're gonna start with My Neighbor Totoro, 1988 movie, rated G. General audiences, anyone can watch it. G. Uh, and yeah, so one thing about the topic is Studio Ghibli, and we chose these movies. I think we made a good choice because both these movies are about a kid moving to a new place and then finding a portal to a spirit world. And also, actually, The Boy and the Heron, which is maybe going to be Miyazaki's last movie, is also about the exact same thing. So clearly, this is a recurring theme in his filmography. Uh, and yeah, I think these were really great choices. And yeah, My Neighbor Totoro, honestly, one of my favorite movies. Absolutely love it. And I'm glad I was able to rewatch it. Ryan, what did you think? Have you seen it before? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen this one before. And I was excited to get into it. I mean, it is the mascot for Studio Ghibli at this point.
Hmm.
Um, I would argue that it's probably the most well-known like character in Studio Ghibli, in terms of it being the mascot, like everyone sees it, right? Um, it's also, I mean, it's adorable. It's supposed to be like the name of the raccoon things? Is that what are those called?
Maybe, I'm not sure. In the movie, they say it's like named after a picture book that May
Yeah,
has.
but it looks like it kind of has like the same look as a tanuki. Is it a tanuki? The raccoon things.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. They're like those like squirrel type
yeah,
animals. Um,
I
it
don't know if it's supposed.
says it says it's May mispronouncing the Japanese word Tororu, which means troll. So I don't know.
Huh.
It seems like a Tanuki and a Totoro are different, which makes
Yes,
sense
yeah, yeah,
because they're different words.
that's true. I was just thinking it kind of the Totoro kind of looks like a tanuki, kind of.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a giant rabbit to me.
Yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. He
The
looks like
ears.
what we're doing is we're comparing him to a rodent. It
Yeah, but
doesn't matter what
a
rodent.
giant
Yeah,
cuddly one.
giant cuddly rodent. And so, anyways, because he's so well known and so adorable, I was pretty excited to jump into it. And I mean, right from the start, like even the opening sequence was pretty adorable. And then the the animation style was awesome and kind of an interesting contrast in a way to Spirited Away in some aspects.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I gotta say, just the first act of the movie when they're just like settling into the house and it's like they're like going around and like the dad's like, oh, uh, like something about like I can't find the stairs up to the top floor, like y'all need to help me find it and open the windows up there, right? And like it's such a playful and like uh, a playful environment, and the family just seems like I love the family dynamic that you're learning about here. And so that first, like I was like even before Totoro's even like seen the movie is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just like delightful and there is a childlike innocence to it, which
Yeah,
is a contrast to Spirited Away, which is a little more the loss of that innocence and coming of age and stuff like that. But I just yeah, this movie like I'd also our last full episode we talked about The Tree of Life and Paris, Texas, arguably two of the worst dads in cinema history, maybe. And now we have My Neighbor Totoro, arguably the best dad in cinema history. I mean, he's just awesome. He's a great dad. He's so good with the kids, and it's just like such a nice, fun environment, and there's very little conflict in the movie, and it's just really like as far as movies with very little conflict, this is like one of the best.
yeah, and it by the way, this movie I didn't write it down. I usually write down the runtime, but it's an hour and 30 something minutes. It's
Yeah, it might
like
even be like 89 minutes or something like that.
yeah, I mean it's like it's not overstaying its welcome. Although I honestly I could have used a little bit more Totoro, but it's not overstaying its welcome. It kind of it, it 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 gets to the point and it's cute the whole time and I love it. It's great.
Yeah, I
A lot of
totally
fun.
agree. It's so fun. It's just a sweet movie. The all the character like there's no conflict. I mean, part of my because of the episode, I keep wanting to compare it to Spirited Away, which I think is fine. But
Yeah.
uh, the the conflict in the movie is mainly caused by like misunderstanding or by just circumstances like the mom is sick and that's just something that happens in life, or the dad has to go to work and like things happen, but there's never any characters that have like malicious intent. Like everyone's just trying to be like do their best and it's just circumstances are cause problems basically, which I think is just a very like optimistic and like hopeful way of looking at life and just humanity in general, and it just is a very heartwarming movie and comes from a heartwarming perspective, but because of the like the mom being sick and stuff like that, like it's not unrealistic or like frivolous. Like it feels real, but it feels just like it feels like a kind movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like nothing's happening, right? Like because of some of this miscommunication, like there are things that happen during the movie that feel that makes you feel like the movie's progressing and moving forward and whatever and Yeah, and I think it does a really good job of like balancing the like lack of any like malicious conflict, things like that, and also having something that's still like coherent and telling a meaningful story, right?
Yeah,
So I think it does a really good job
definitely.
balancing that.
I totally agree. Um, Another thing with Spirited Away, there are little soot, dust, black little guys with black
Oh
small
yeah,
dust guys with eyes, just like in Spirited Away. Like basically the exact same idea. In Spirited Away, they're like soot, uh, I don't know, conscious soot, I guess.
yeah, they're
And
just like
then
enchanted or something.
yes, exactly. They're magical soot. And in this one, they're dust bunnies. That's how it's described. But they look exactly the same. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting just how also with Spirited Away, it feels like the animation, like they have a bigger budget,
Oh
more
yeah.
time, more money, and it feels a lot more polished, where this one feels a little bit more just it feels very handmade. And it's I think it's absolutely like gorgeous. I love it. I might prefer this animation to Spirited Away just slightly. Not that they're both great, but
Yeah.
I think I like the like hand drawn you know, like authentic feel of the Totoro animation.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy this type of animation, and it is interesting that it contrasts so much. I mean, Spirited Away is 2001, so it's, it is a while later, right?
Mhm.
And it's interesting, like this type of animation. It almost makes me nostalgic to something like some of the old Scooby Doo stuff, right? Especially when they're like going into the house and they think it might be haunted and stuff. So there's some like
Yeah,
fun, interesting like stuff just from my childhood that I'm thinking of with this type of animation style that I adore, right? And I adore
yeah,
this just the same.
yeah. This is like technically a haunted house movie. It's
Yeah.
just the sweetest like spirits ever. Like it's very nice to have a movie with spirits and they don't have any malicious intent or anything like that. It's just they're just hanging out.
Yeah. I mean, if Totoro is haunting my house, I would not be upset. I'm just gonna
No,
say.
that'd be awesome.
Controversial take, but
Yeah. Yeah, he
um
might be a little large to fit. He probably wouldn't fit through the door, but he could hang out in the backyard maybe.
yeah, he could do a little dance,
And he's
make a
also
tree
magical.
grow.
He could just squeeze through or something,
Yeah. Um and so one other thing that I want to bring up about the kind of earlier part of the movie is that it's striking to me that like the conflict that is happening is so like I like you already said that it's very common, like it's something that happens, right? And so it feels like it's like a movie that everyone can connect with, right? Because even if you haven't specifically been in that situation, like you understand the feeling of having someone close to you sick or not having them around, and all that stuff, and it's not like a good feeling as a kid, right? And everyone knows that. And so even though the movie is very like cheery for the most part, you do understand why uh May like runs away at that one point, right? And like there's so much turmoil that's building up, and it doesn't need to be that there's this malicious uh you know, witch or whatever doing something powerful, and they have to make you understand that it's bad, right? You just because it's a thing that everyone experiences one way or another, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So it's kind of a
definitely.
very universal movie, which sorry, that's all.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. And like all the details of it, like just the way everyone acts, the uh which obviously with animation you need to be mindful of that and like put time and effort into those little mannerisms and the details of everything. And it all feels very authentic. And I think through the specificity of that, it does feel universal because you can it feels real, it feels like yeah, something everyone can relate to. um so yeah, I think it does a good job also balancing like we don't like it doesn't stay in the sadness of things too much, because obviously it's going for a particular tone and it's supposed to be light and comedic and family friendly, so it has it in there. And when you're like if I was watching this as a kid, I would probably be able to just enjoy the movie and not even think about that. But as an adult, you are able to understand like how the mom being sick and not being around is affecting the kids and how it's affecting the dad even, and yeah, it has those complex things that you can recognize as an adult, but it doesn't take away from the comedy and the family friendly nature of it all.
Definitely. And like again, like and you realize that that's like as an adult, you realize how much that must be wearing on the dad, and yet he's still like the best dad in cinema history somehow. Like,
Yeah.
oh man, what a role model.
Yeah, the dad is awesome. The only weird thing, which maybe this is just a Japanese thing, I don't know. Him and the kids are all bathing naked together. I don't know if that's a thing that was a little weird. I was like, you don't have swim trunks you could put on, buddy? I think
um
that's just a cultural thing. It's not actually a problem, but it's just looking at it from my perspective from now, I'm like, why are they all just naked in the bath together? That's kind of weird.
yeah, and they're a little bit maybe older than what you'd expect that like here in America, maybe like
Yeah.
you might bathe with your kid or whatever when they're really young, like
Yeah.
baby aged and stuff. But
Do they ever say
um,
how like May it seems like it's maybe like 3, 4 or 4, but then the Satsuki is like maybe like 9, 8, 8 or 9 or something like that. I don't think they ever say. It's just that's how old
yeah,
they seem to me.
yeah, yeah. I'd agree with those like approximates, but I don't think they ever say it.
Yeah. But I think that's just a cultural thing, and overall, still fantastic dad. And even that scene when they are in the bath, that like just the little details of how like he makes everything fun, or like when
Yeah,
May goes and sees Totoro for the first time, and she comes out, and then she can't get back, and she's upset about it. Like he kind of just plays along and is very like supportive of her, and he like soothes her from being upset about it, and it's very nice, good parenting.
yeah. I mean, it's such a wholesome family dynamic,
Yeah,
and I, I mean, I was just so engulfed in that. Right?
yeah,
It was wonderful.
yeah.
Um,
And they have like there's like a cleaning montage, and like ultimately that's like I just love that the movie appreciates like those little things in like a family life of like you can just whatever going around and opening the windows and cleaning stuff off and taking baths and all that kind of stuff. Like that's those moments are important, but in most movies those are things that would be overlooked.
yeah. And it feels very true to the moving into a new house like as a kid, right, moving into a new house, it feels, to the parents it doesn't necessarily, it feels maybe exciting and whatever, right, because you have a new house, but for the kids it feels like in a way exciting, and like and you have that like childish like adventurism to it, but in a way it's also a little intimidating and scary, right, like with the dust bunnies being terrifying and everything, right, and
Yeah,
I think it does a really good job of like showing how all the characters are reacting, and it feels very real, right, it doesn't feel like, you know schlop writing or anything.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Also the music in this movie really great. um just wanted to mention that, just very fits the tone very well. It's Joe Hisaishi, I think, who does
Yeah,
the music for pretty much all Miyazaki movies.
yeah, and he did it for Spirited Away as well, of course, and
Yeah,
yeah, the music in both of these it fits very well, and it's very enjoyable, um, and yeah, I agree,
yeah,
very charming.
yeah. And the thing with like, I feel like we've been talking mainly about the family in Totoro, and that I like that most of the movie is just about this family and the magical spirit world. It doesn't come in until later. Like probably like 30 minutes in, I think she is when May
Yeah,
goes into the the woods and sort of I guess falls asleep or goes into that Totoro land. Um, and yeah, there's just I don't know. I think it's awesome. There's so many iconic scenes of when they're waiting at the bus stop and then Totoro shows up and they give him the umbrella and uh it's interesting too that like you kind of can access this world by sleeping, but then it is real and it can interact with you. Like no one can see the cat bus toward the end, but it they feel the wind. Like the wind is these spirits going flying around and stuff. Um, and yeah, just like them with Totoro like praying for the seeds to bloom, and then the giant tree, and then all that stuff. Like just so many really cool magical scenes uh that are very iconic.
Yeah, and so once we get, I mean, once we get into the spirit world, it in a way the dad is kind of like sidelined. We don't see as much of him when
Yeah.
Totoro's around, and I guess that's is he working? Is that right? He has
Hmm.
to go to work. Yeah,
Yeah, he works at like a university, I think. So he has to go in.
you're
Yeah.
right. Um, and so it's interesting, like the kids like take on to Totoro when the dad's not around and everything, right? And like I think that's just like an interesting piece of it of like they don't have their mom around when their dad's not around, they need something, right? And so um it like this the spirit Totoro and Kappas are definitely like they interact with the real world, which is interesting. But you could imagine like also again just thinking of like the realism of it, like if kids are hang they're alone and their parents aren't around and whatever, they want something to like be able to latch onto like that too, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it is interesting too. Toward the beginning, the granny or nanny, I think she's called nanny in the subtitles, but on IMDb I think it says granny. But anyway, she's like a neighbor, an older lady that watches them, and uh she says that she could see she calls them soot spreaders, which are the dust bunnies, and she says she could see them as a kid, but she can't see them now. So there is sort of that idea of kids having access to this magical world, maybe through imagination or I don't know what they don't explain it or whatever. It's kind of just in the movie that only the kids can see and act and interact with this spirit world, but the spirit world is real. Like it does have an actual
Right.
effect on real life.
Yeah, which is interesting, and it's kind of like a common trope, I guess, but it feels definitely like it works here, right? I mean, I think um I think of what is it the I'm thinking of like Polar Express with the bell, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it feels like that trope can feel so cliched and just poorly done. And Polar Express is fine, right? Whatever. But like the stupid ending of that movie when he's shaking the bell and it doesn't happen or whatever, right? Like clearly the mysticism in that world was real because the bell's there. But then it's like, okay, only the kids or whatever. And I know it's supposed to be because they believe or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like that idea of like that childishness letting you access something mystical and magic, I feel like is pretty commonplace, but sometimes it does feel more like that Polar Express example, and sometimes it feels more wholesome and well done like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's well done in this movie. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love this movie. I think it's great. I think it's very rewatchable. Um, I could see maybe someone not liking the kids, maybe finding them annoying. I could kind of imagine that. If I was like a teenager watching this, like maybe I could see myself being a little more cynical and being annoyed by the kids. But I think I never saw this until I was an adult too. Like I never saw it as a kid, so I know a lot of people watch this as a kid and they have that connection to it, but I never had that. But I think it was good that I didn't watch this when I was like 16. I probably would have been more cynical about it, but I think as you get older, you're able to accept things for what they are a little bit more.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like geared towards either kids or adults, right? It's not geared
Yeah.
towards teenagers, really. You
Yeah,
might not
definitely.
really appreciate it totally. Also, before I gotta just admire Cat Bus.
Yeah, Cat Bus is awesome. Kind of creepy, but cool.
I was not expecting when that happened because it's during the umbrella scene when you first see Cat Bus,
Yeah.
and it's like this cute, wholesome, like uh uh Totoro gets the umbrella and is blocking, because at first Totoro just has the little leaf to block the rain,
Yeah.
and then she gives him the umbrella, and then I was like, oh man, that's so wholesome. And then all of a sudden Cat Bus comes, and I was like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And then as you see Cat Bus again later, it's like, first of all, even like watching the door open was like really cool. Like the door just like Cat Bus just like molds, right? It just like opens up.
Yeah.
And just the dynamics of Cat Bus and how it worked was awesome. And it just looks awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Cat Bus is really cool. Um, and very, very helpful at the end. Saves the day. Deus Ex Cat Bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I could watch a whole Cat Bus origin story.
Yeah. So actually, interesting enough, I believe, there's a short film called May and Cat Bus. Um, and I think you might only be able to see it like in Japan at like there's like a Studio Ghibli like theme park or something like that, or museum or something along those lines. I think that's the only way you can watch it. So yeah, I don't know if you know
That's
anything about that.
I saw something about that on the Wikipedia, but I didn't see too much into it. But that is fascinating and would be amazing to go see, but also uh, not as
So
easy as going onto the web archive or something.
yeah, so it came out in 2002, which interesting enough, right after Spirited Away. Um, it's called May and the Kitten Bus on Letterboxd. So um,
Cat Bus origin story, or maybe Cat Bus offspring,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
or just
I don't know.
translation.
Maybe people can find it on the internet because there are reviews and stuff on uh Letterboxd. I'm not sure. Apparently, it can be found online somehow, but
Okay,
it's difficult to find, I guess.
well, interesting. That sounds like a fun challenge.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I gotta appreciate the return to My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, this is 1988. This is only like 4 years after Studio Ghibli. I think I looked up. I think Studio Ghibli started in 1984, um, and so it's really early production. I don't even know like what was before it necessarily in Studio Ghibli, but
I know Castle in the Sky, I think, is 86.
okay.
That's Miyazaki, but I don't know if they made other because I think Grave of the Fireflies is also 88, I think.
Oh, okay.
So
So, uh, like in those first few things that they do with Studio Ghibli, and obviously there's some like obviously they have, or at least Miyazaki has like some soft place in his heart for Totoro, hence the making it the mascot and here like revisiting it in 2002 to make a short film. Um, how cool.
yeah. Yeah, it looks like Castle in the Sky is the first movie, which came out in 86. And then Totoro and Grave of the Fireflies and are both 88. And then there's Kiki's Delivery Service the next year, and then Only Yesterday, and it goes on from there. But yeah, so would have been cool actually to do Castle in the Sky. That's one of the only Miyazaki movies I haven't seen yet, so I should get on it. But but yeah, that would be cool. We could have done Castle in the Sky and Boy and the Heron. Would have done first and last, or first and most recent, not last, hopefully. But
Yeah. Um,
but yeah, uh, overall, I think Totoro is an amazing movie. I love it. I don't know if there's that much else to say about it.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you could go on and gloat about this movie so much or whatever, and just appreciate everything about it. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, I very much so
I mean,
enjoyed this movie.
yeah. Yeah, one I really like the shot of like the dust bunnies floating up into the trees, which is kind of a shot that I feel like he has repeated like in The Boy and the Heron there's those weird white spirit soul things and they float up to the sky like things floating in the air is kind of a an image that Miyazaki likes. And
Hmm.
yeah, obviously this is the Studio Ghibli episode, but we chose two Miyazaki movies, so it's kind of more of a Miyazaki episode than anything else. But But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll have to check if Miyazaki's in the cup because not that I wouldn't want to do more Miyazaki.
let's do more. Why not?
Yeah, all right, all
He's got
right.
plenty of movies.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think well, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Totoro.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at the end, there is the drama of May going missing, because she wants to bring the corn to her mom, and then Cat Bus helps her, and they give the corn to the mom, and it's very sweet. Um, yeah. And yeah, Totoro never gives back the umbrella. So Totoro's a fucking thief, and he should be in jail. But
Lock
yeah,
him up.
like,
Lock him up.
oh my God. All right. Well, before we go totally off the rails, we can give our ratings for My Neighbor Totoro. 5 stars for me. One of my favorite animated movies. Probably my favorite Miyazaki movie. Yeah, just love it.
Yeah, 5 stars for me too.
Yeah, double
Adorable,
five.
very wholesome, such an enjoyable movie. And I think a lot of people can really enjoy it. I do think you're right about that teenage age. Maybe not a time to first watch this, but you know, show this to your kids, right? Watch this as an adult. It just seems it's such a wholesome and enjoyable movie, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Did you do the review aggregator for this movie?
I did. So this has got 94% on both Rotten Tomatoes and audience score. So perfect agreement on critics and audience here. 8.1 on IMDb out of 10 and 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Pretty good stats, bringing it to 8.825 average. So
Nice.
that's pretty good.
That's got to be one of our highest rated, I think.
It is. We've got a couple in the nines somehow,
Oh,
which
okay.
is crazy to me because I mean the stats are just astonishing.
Right.
But it's up there. I mean Paris, Texas was 8.925, so it's right in line with something like that. Um,
Gotcha.
so yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah, I think this movie definitely appeals to like people who are really into movies and appreciate animation and filmmaking, but also just families and children and general audiences. I think everyone can get enjoyment out of it. Also, we both watched the sub, but there is a dubbed version, and like Miyazaki has said, like he is totally cool with people watching the dub and like is fine with that. So I think that also adds to the accessibility for general audiences, and maybe part of the reason that Studio Ghibli movies have gotten so popular in America and the West also.
yeah. Which and so these dubs, I watched actually the dub for Ponyo, and I'm sure they vary a bit for each one, of course. But I know that in general, the Studio Ghibli dubs they're done by Disney at this point and distributed internationally, and they apparently put a lot of time into trying to get things to actually line up and sound right, and they use like uh, big actors and everything. So uh, I would say
Yeah.
that the dubs are probably pretty impressive for these. Again, I watched the Ponyo one and it was very impressive. And so, that's great. Enjoy the movie that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, The Boy and the Heron is the only one that I saw it in theaters, and the dub was, I believe, the only one that was playing, so we watched the dub. But usually I watch subtitles just by default.
Yeah.
Um, so I did the same with Spirited Away.
Yeah,
I watched subtitles. I'd seen this once before, and yeah, I guess that's that for Totoro, right? We're good.
I think so. Time to move quite a few years into the future of Studio Ghibli
Yeah.
and talk about a movie that I think plays a pretty big part in Studio Ghibli kind of breaking through in America.
Oh
Spirited Away,
yeah.
2001.
Yeah. Yes, a huge sort of breakthrough point for I think like anime in general, where a lot of um, general audiences in America and stuff came to see Spirited Away. It got pretty popular. I don't have like I think it did pretty good like at the box office and stuff too in America. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't have any numbers off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
it
I
also
saw I saw the numbers when I was looking earlier. Yeah, so this was on under a $20 million budget, and international box office was just under $400 million.
Wow,
And I
that's
know when I
huge.
was looking, it was a considerable part of that was international. So um, from Japan. So yeah, so I'm sure here it did very well.
It did, and it won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. So in the 2003 Academy Awards. So it's listed as 2001 everywhere, but in the US it came out in 2002. So then yeah. Um but yeah, that's a huge hit. And it kind of surprises me because this movie's weird as fuck. Like
Yeah,
this movie's insane. Um yeah, this is my second time seeing it and I definitely wrapped my head around it better this time around, but still it's quite a crazy, surreal experience. Um, so yeah, also our previous one was rated G, and this one is rated PG, quote, for some scary scenes, which is pretty accurate. There are some scary scenes. I understand why there might be some. This one's a little more intense than My Neighbor Totoro.
definitely. Much more of that conflict that we were talking about.
Yes.
Um, it's also, of course, like we already mentioned, Miyazaki, and it is also scored by Hisaishi, Joe Hisaishi, um, just like My Neighbor Totoro, which is awesome that they're still working together so many years later during this time.
Hmm.
Um, it also was, fun fact, the highest grossing film in Japanese history all the way up until 2020 when it was
Wow.
surpassed by a Demon Slayer movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Uh, which is crazy. That is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it just does not seem like the type of movie that would have been such a big hit. It's really weird and I don't know. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool that it was a big hit, but yeah.
it's very like Alice in Wonderlandy in like the like Western audience, right?
Yeah.
Like lots of like Mad Hatter and stuff like just things like characters being wacky and very kind of uh big personalities, I guess, and very weird, and character designs being strange. And I particularly like towards the end, and I don't want to skip to the end just yet, but towards the end, there's one character that's just like a hopping lantern, and it has a foot, and otherwise it's just a hopping lantern. And that scene specifically, I was thinking like this is like straight out of like Alice in Wonderland or something. Like it looks like a creepy, weird, grotesque thing that she would find in that weird world.
Yeah, and like when Haku is a dragon, and there's a lot of blood and it's pretty
Yeah,
intense. Um and also like the design of the witches, Zeniba and what's the
and
other one? I forget
uh,
the name of the
you
other one.
uh, Yubaba,
Oh,
Yubaba,
yeah. They uh they're kind of it's kind of the way Miyazaki draws all old people, like a little bit disgusting and weird and gross looking. So yeah, the movie is pretty
it's
intense.
strange.
Yeah, very strange, very intense movie. There's also
Yeah.
a cute little frog guy. I liked him.
Oh my
Forget his
god,
name.
I I thought he was gone. I thought he was a goner, and I was like, no, please. And I'm so glad that he got coughed up at one point. But
Yeah.
yep. Uh, when and that's so uh real quick, just because now I'm thinking about it, right? I want to skip to No Face. No Face at first seems like a fine person. I think he even is the reason that Sen gets like one of the water tablets, right? I think he gives her one of those.
Yeah.
Or something.
Chihiro. Chihiro.
Chihiro, right.
The Sen's
Um
not a real name.
well, yeah, that's true. But I forget her real name, you know?
Chihiro.
No, but get it
Oh
that
yeah,
she
yeah,
forgets
yeah,
it, yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. All
Um
right.
but but yeah, so uh and so he's like kind of like it seems like he's like a good guy. And then he goes into the place and whatever. And then he eats the frog guy, and it's like this really creepy scene. And I'm like, what are you doing to my poor frog friend? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That was a big surprise. Which is
Yeah, I
funny
think
because I've seen this movie once before, but it's been quite a while, and I had forgotten like a lot about it, and feel like the first time I don't know how much attention I was paying. I guess maybe I just thought the movie was real weird, or also the movie is just real weird, and so my memory is not as good because I'm like, this happened or something, you know?
it's a weird structure where like it just seems like one random thing happens and then another random thing happens and it's very out of the blue and crazy
Yeah,
and you could never guess what the next scene is going to be. It's like, oh, all of a sudden there's a stink monster and we have to give him a bath and I have to pull a thing out of him and like not take the go not be greedy and all this craziness.
yeah,
Um but yeah, the movie is kind of should we talk like a little bit like chronologically to make
yeah,
sense
maybe,
of like the scenes maybe?
yeah,
Because the movie starts off just like Totoro, except there's only one kid this time and there's two parents. Um so yeah. And Chihiro is kind of being a little bit bratty. She's sort of another difference with Totoro is Totoro is very much the childlike innocence. And I think Chihiro is a little bit older, maybe toward 12, 13-ish, something like that. Sort of the movie is kind of about growing up and that loss of innocence, I think. Um, but yeah, she's moving to uh a new place and her dad takes a turn down the wrong road and they find a tunnel and the animation's really beautiful. It's
yeah.
gorgeous animation. And for some reason, her parents want to go into the tunnel, and she's like, "No, that looks creepy. Why would we do that?" And they're like, "Come on, it'll be fun." So they go through, and they find what appears to be an abandoned theme park. And also, yeah. Anyway, they uh, they are walking around. No one's around, but there's food, and her parents decide to eat it and they're like, ah, we'll pay when someone comes around. And Chihiro does not eat the food and she kind of just wanders off. And then it starts to get dark and she meets Haku and Haku's like, get out of here before it gets dark. They're gonna turn the lanterns on. Get out of here. She's like,
I'll
oh
hold them
no.
back.
Yeah, and she starts running, and then there's these spirits are showing up, and her parents are pigs. Her parents have
Yeah,
turned into pigs for some reason. And yeah, and then Haku kind of tries to hide her. Man, this movie's fucking crazy. But it's very like just a very crazy way to get into the world. Very traumatizing for this little kid.
yeah, and it's funny because Chihiro here is like kind of that age, like starting to be at that age where that loss of innocence also ironically means she maybe wouldn't like My Neighbor Totoro.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
She's
I
starting to
think
lose that like childhood innocence, right?
right. But
But
her character is very like she always does the right thing. Like she's not greedy and she doesn't want to break the
mm,
rules.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
she doesn't want to eat the food and like, ah, it'll be fine. Like she's like, no, I don't want to eat the food. Or when someone's offering her the gold, she's like, no, I don't want the gold, you know.
yeah,
So she does have a very like uh good character, and that's kind of probably part of the whatever this part of the story, part of the themes of the movie. But yeah, she's a good kid, it seems.
yeah, yeah. And then yeah, and then so then she gets so now she's like fully into that world, and there's the whole like holding her breath thing, whatever, blah blah. But um
Oh yeah.
essentially she ends up meeting with Kamaji,
Yeah.
Kamaji, the person that works in the boiler room. And first of all, awesome design. This guy
Yeah.
looks so cool.
He's almost like a spider. He has all these arms. Yeah.
Yeah. And just also in terms of the animation, just the way that those arms all work together and move. Um, it's I think it's just that one of the highlights of the animation here is like watching him like moving around his arms and everything. It was fantastic, which was
Yeah.
cool.
And there is a part where I think Kamaji says that he's Chihiro's grandfather. I
Yeah,
wasn't sure if that was like literal or if he was just kind of joking or if he was I wasn't really sure.
yeah, it never comes up again, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna come up again, and then it didn't. So I was like, okay, I guess he was just said a thing. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's not really a great way to treat it, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah. And like she meets Haku. Haku has these weird magical powers. It's really unclear a lot of the time like what the limits or like what thing people can and cannot do. It kind of just whatever happens in the scene, it kind of just they just go with it. It's like, all right, I
Mhm.
guess they can do this now. I guess that's how it works. I don't know. And it kind of just you're supposed to go with it, but um yeah, when she meets Kamaji, she also meets the Soot
Yes, here they
beings.
are.
Yes. And yeah, eventually we also learn that if you don't work, your spell will be broken. Um, so I think that is maybe part of the growing up and becoming an adult. Like you need to work, and that is part of what is being dealt with here. But like the Soot guys need to work in order, or else they'll die, I guess.
Yeah, and that's why she can't get a job from him, which is what Haku tells her to do. And so
Yeah,
she ends up getting a job from Yubaba, who we learn later is actually the witch that turned her parents into pigs or something, kind of.
yeah. I think they just turn people into pigs so they have food, maybe. Although I don't know why you need food. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, you use a lot of food to get them into food, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd even need. Why would spirits need food?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I have no idea. Maybe it's just for fun because it tastes good to them or something. But couldn't you just make up a spell with like fake food? Why would you need
Yeah.
actual pigs?
Well, I mean, there's that part where like No Face or whatever clearly has some spell going on where like everyone sees the gold, but then it turns out it's just dust or something or dirt maybe or something. And
Yeah.
and you know, it's only valuable while you think it's that thing, right? So like I imagine if they did the same thing for, you know, a pot of stew or something, right? And you start drinking it, and then it's like, oh, this is actually just air. Like did that
Well,
you
but
know.
if it tastes like stew and like you don't actually need sustenance because you're a spirit. Well, dude, I don't
I
know.
don't
They
know.
eat food. It seems like they need. I don't know how it fucking works.
Yeah, they sleep, they eat, they creep around, stealing gold. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an interesting world. Uh, So basically, she's working at a hotel. It's
yeah,
like a hotel for spirits, and there are all these cool, like weird spirit guys. There's the little frog guy. There's these weird looking like chicken things, kind of like the chicken guys. They were cool looking, and a bunch of frog guys. They're the
yeah,
sort of the main workers. There's like frog guys, and then there's like humanoid ladies mostly.
yeah.
So that's kind of the workforce. Um, so yeah, people are pretty like mean to her in general. Um, Definitely a difference with Totoro, where the world is so everyone is trying their best. This one is sort of where people are worked to the bone and they're frustrated and they're angry at each other and they're kind of assholes to everyone because they're overworked and all that kind of stuff. So a little bit more, maybe a little more realistic in some ways.
Yeah, or at least a little more like making a statement about that capitalism, right? And like that movement of society into like a workforce grind thing,
Yeah,
right? So, uh,
yeah.
yeah. Hopefully, I mean, definitely realistic to some people, but hopefully, you know, hopefully not everyone feels like they're getting ground to dust as a spirit, just working away every day like us. What?
But yeah, I mean, there's a giant baby involved.
Yeah, which
Yubaba has
is
a giant baby.
Yubaba's baby. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and she like keeps him as a baby, kind of forever,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. But then Zabima, the twin,
Zaniba, yeah,
Zaniba, she ends up stealing the baby at some point, and those little head things that follow her around can just like morph into baby, and that was funny.
yeah. Eventually, and then the baby gets turned into like a mouse, and
Yeah,
uh, there's also like something else that gets turned into the little bird
Yeah,
guy.
it's like a bigger bird, I think, and then it
Oh,
gets turned into a
okay.
smaller bird. I think.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it kind of looked like it had like a lady's head, but I don't know.
Yeah, because also like Yubaba goes out and flies around. She like turns into a bird with like with her head still a
Yeah,
human
and it
head.
looks like that,
Yeah, it does look like that.
but it's because I thought it was her, but it wasn't, and I was confused
Yes.
because it was.
Also,
Yeah,
Zaniba, I think, is like she's like a little paper bird thing
yeah,
that like sticks to Chihiro at one point,
hmm yeah,
and she
and
does.
she was many of those while she was attacking Haku because Haku was flying around
Mm,
being
yeah, because
attacked
Haku
by.
tried to steal her shit, and then
Yeah,
well, we don't really see that, but we see the aftermath of Haku's all fucked up and he's about to die, and then Chihiro has to. That's the thing is Chihiro is very uh like what's the virtuous in
yeah,
that she has this like magical thing that's supposed to take away spells or whatever, and ends up instead of using it on her parents, she uses it to help No Face kind of go back to normal, and then to help Haku not die.
yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting even how she gets that, right? She gets that by trying to help this like blob spirit. It looks like a blob spirit at first, and then she
Stink
realizes
spirit.
that, yeah, the stink spirit, and she realizes that he's like impaled by something or whatever, and try and wants to get it out, right? And then helps get it out and everything. And of course, it's like this massive contraption of trash, um, which kind of felt a little bit like in Ponyo when they're like at the very beginning. There's like the the boat, and it's like pulling up a little bit of trash, and it's like a tiny little environmental statement that that Miyazaki seems to like sneak in. Um,
Mm.
but
Maybe, yeah. This one didn't seem to have the environmental theme. Like in
yeah,
Totoro, they do have, we didn't mention, but like the dad sort of expresses how we should appreciate nature and like be, they like they basically pray to 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 nature and stuff like that and appreciate the trees and all that kind of stuff. So that is very present in Totoro. This one, not so much, I don't think.
no, there's really just that one thing when they're pulling out all the trash. It really just made me
Yeah.
think of that one thing in Ponyo when there's like all the trash in the sea at the very
You know,
beginning.
actually, that is a good point because after I didn't put this together till now, but once they take that out of the stink spirit, it turns out it's like a dragon, and I believe dragons
Yeah.
are like of the rivers, so it's probably a
Oh,
polluted
Haku
river
is, yeah. Oh,
because Haku is a river. Yes,
oh,
Chihiro falls in love with a river, which is crazy. But yeah, right.
oh,
So that's probably pollution caused the river to turn into a stink spirit, perhaps, and
yeah,
so she needed to save it, and then he gave her the little
yeah.
thing.
But so even so by yeah, and that's interesting. So I guess maybe the what seemed to me like a tiny little environmental like throw in is a little bit deeper, but it's still, I mean, it's a pretty small thing in the movie,
Yeah,
but either way, that's how she gets this thing is by being kind of virtuous in the first place by trying to help this guy.
yeah,
And then she uses it for, not for her own benefit necessarily, but to save Haku and No Face. Yeah, it's she's like a really good character, right? I mean, she has all the right ideas on what to do.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think maybe like I do. This movie is really, really good, but I don't know that I connect with it as much as like Totoro. Um, and maybe part of that is that Chihiro like is almost unrealistically like virtuous in this world. Where like Totoro, all the people kind of are like trying their best, but they're flawed and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if that's part of it or if it's just all the craziness of it all that it's hard to wrap my head around in like this 1 2 hour movie with all these crazy things going on. Yeah.
Yeah, part of me feels like this movie is a little universal because of how weird it is. Like,
Mm,
and so because of that, like, there's so much like you don't have to try to put yourself in this person's shoes necessarily because everything around it makes no sense. So like everyone can kind of uh universally agree that like it's a nonsense world or like it's a very mystical, weird world. But also I totally agree that like I did not feel as connected to the world or the character as I did with uh, My Neighbor Totoro, or even I mean, even Ponyo was like a weird. It was much less weird than this, I think, but there was a lot of magic elements, and I think I connected quite a bit better to those characters too.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Um, but yeah,
Not that I feel like that might have sounded a little harsh on this movie. I don't mean to necessarily be harsh, but we'll get
no,
to yeah,
I don't think it's harsh to just say that we struggle to connect with it. I
yeah,
mean, I wonder if part of it is that there is maybe like Japanese mythology or like things in Japanese culture that are maybe I just don't understand or don't know about that make it more difficult to
yeah.
connect with it because it's so much of it is like surreal and metaphorical uh and magical. So it's maybe that is part of the reason. I'm not sure.
But again, like it kind of to me, it's also kind of like how do you connect with like Alice in Wonderland? You know, like I guess the big thing there is being lost in a weird, unrecognizable place with unrecognizable things that you don't know who to trust and stuff, right? And
Yeah.
it kind of feels, I guess, like that, but I don't know.
I think
It's yeah,
maybe I guess with Alice in Wonderland, I think it's a good comparison. I didn't think of it at all. But I think you definitely have to feel like you are Alice and it, it's sort of that coming of age thing and feeling confused by the world around you and feeling out of place, perhaps. And I
yeah,
think there
right.
is part of that in this movie, but I don't know, maybe I just like there's so much going on and there's so much craziness to it. Like she has to get this thing and she has to save her parents
Yeah,
and Haku's a dragon and she has to save him and there's like she has to try to get a job so she doesn't like disappear and all this craziness. Like it just maybe is a little more complicated so I wasn't able to like emotionally just connect with the main character as easily. Um but yeah, I think maybe that's part of the reason too.
yeah, I would agree. I think in terms of like that stuff, I don't know if it's as connecting to me as something like My Neighbor Totoro, but I do think that the themes here are a little bit. I think that there's some themes here that I do think resonate kind of universally, like with just like the capitalism, you know, capitalism bad statement, right? And like the Yubaba like being like having so much excess, right? While there's so many people like working and
Yeah.
literally digging in the things to try to find any last bit of gold, and then you get eaten by no face, so
Yeah.
that like dichotomy, I think that is definitely something that's a little like I feel like maybe more universally understandable, but
Yeah, and greed and power are themes in the movie for sure.
yeah,
And like it's definitely a lot more complex themes than Totoro.
yeah,
And I could imagine this having like a lot, like even just on this rewatch for me, I think I got it a lot more and I got a lot more out of it than my first viewing, which was years ago. But I think on rewatch, I could maybe get more out of it and like I could see you could write all sorts of like things about exploring all these different themes. So it is very rich in that way.
yeah,
um but yeah, I didn't like personally like love it as much as Totoro.
yeah, I would agree. And I think, well, I guess did we did we miss anything in the plot? I guess. Well, she
I mean,
saves Haku and saves her family.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's the whole like the train sequence is pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
there's a bunch of rain and it sort of floods everything and it's like this. They're basically walking on water, which is also a thing, whatever, thematically relevant probably. Um, but they are on a train and it's basically a train going through I really like the sequence of seeing the spirits on the train and seeing all the different stops and sort of a little tiny glimpse into like these different spirit world cities and how they're probably each have their own different vibe and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Like you
yeah,
could I don't know, you could probably make like some kind of a video game and have all those different worlds and you could like explore all the different worlds. That could be kind of cool. But eventually she ends up well, she gets the tickets because the Kamaji has old tickets from like 40. He's like, oh, these are from like 40 years ago. I've been hanging on to them. And she uses them, and she has to use all the tickets because of the baby mouse, whose name is Bo, I guess. Bo. And the bird thing costs tickets. I'm like,
Yeah.
they should not cost that should not be. I guess they
They're
are
spirits.
they're spirits. I know. But they take up no space.
Yeah,
Like
but
if
but a ticket is not really about the space. It's about the money that the corporation can sneak out of you.
I guess so. I guess so. But yeah, the train. I really like the train sequence. It's just really nice, just the images of it. And there's like this house that's just in the middle of like water, and you kind of there's a
Yeah.
lot of just interesting imagery that you can kind of like let your imagination run and like, oh man, there's a lot to this world. It feels makes the world feel very large and lived in. And then they get to the swamp and meet Zaniba, and you kind of realize that Zaniba is the good twin and Yubaba is the bad one. Even though obviously it's like whatever character you're with, you're like, well, I guess the other, she almost kills Haku, so you're like, well, you must be bad. And then she's like, well, not really. Haku was trying to steal my shit, and he was being controlled by Yubaba. But yeah, long story short, the uh oh, No Face is with them on the train too, so that's why it's four tickets. And then No Face stays with Zaniba because I guess we learned that No Face is lonely, and that's why potentially why he acted that way and ate the frog
Eight
guy.
people. Yeah, we didn't even talk about the fact that he also ate a bunch of other people. Like,
Yeah, he ate he
he
ate
ate
like
like three
three.
people.
Yeah, well, they were greedy. They kind of deserved
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Well, then he was
There,
greedy.
yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe he was being greedy. That's a good point.
Right?
The people when the way they act with the gold, it reminded me of like Black Friday. Like uh
Yeah. Oh
10,
yeah.
15 years ago, Black Friday, just people being absolute animals so they could get a TV for a discount.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the gold is actually meaningless, right? The gold's actually just dirt, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah,
something there about you know, I don't know. Us overvaluing these like meaningless things, right? Like money and whatever. But
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I mean. Like this movie has many, so many interesting themes.
yeah.
So it is a very rich and like thematically dense movie, which is also part of the reason I'm like, it's just surprising to me that this was the big hit. Like it's
Yeah.
so surreal and strange and like dense, thematically dense. Like it's not the type of movie that I would have guessed would have been some big hit, but for whatever reason, people latched onto it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um
so yeah, they all go to Zaniba's and it kind of all works out. And uh eventually, yeah, they
oh, she has one
Haku
final test at the end too, right?
something like that. Yeah, Haku comes back as a dragon. We realize that he's a river and that she's in love with a river. And then he says like they'll meet again one day. So I don't know what I have no idea what that means. But but yeah, they some oh yeah, she has to like guess which pig is the parents, and then she's like, none of these pigs are my parents, and they're like, oh yeah, you passed the test, yay! And then the parents are turned back into humans. They're able to leave the spirit world, and we realize that like months have passed when they walk out, and like the trees have grown, and the car is still sitting there, but the everything's overgrown.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and then they kind of just drive off, and I think that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. And the parents don't remember anything, and they're gonna be really surprised when they're fired from their jobs because they never showed up.
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, yeah. I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but yeah, they when they first are walking out, it's like, oh man, did nothing change? Was this all a dream and all that?
Yeah.
But once they get out of the tunnel, you realize, oh no, it was all real. Um,
Right. Another one of those like in Totoro, like the bus zooming by people, and even though they can't see it, there's an impact, right? And here it's kind of like, yeah, that whole mystical thing that happened actually did have an impact, right? Even though
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
yep,
Um yeah, there I mean there really is like so much that you could unpack from this movie in terms of its theming and everything. And I found myself getting into a little bit of that with like the theme of excess and uh like competition and capitalism and stuff. Um uh Also like I wrote down identity as a theme because like the guy's literally called No Face, right? That's a thing. And then there's the doubles, right? The twins, uh, which makes me think of like you know, two parts of a person and whatever. But I always kind of dig into that. I don't know if that's really something that's happening here. But then like, you know, they erase the name and everything too. So it's like you have to remember who you are and your identity.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a thing where in order to get out, she has to remember who she is, and she reminds Haku of his real name, which is like the name of the river, and that's how he's like freed,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, remembering your name is an important thing. So something I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, but I was like really just kind of like, you know, thematic throw up on my paper. And I feel like there really is so much that you could, you know, just keep chipping away at with rewatching it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I don't know that I have that much else to say. We've kind of touched on some of the themes. Yeah, it's a very dreamlike movie, sort of a lot of like dream logic and surrealism and stuff like that. And yeah, it is very enjoyable. I definitely liked it a lot more this time around than when I first watched it. I think when I first watched it, I was kind of just like, I have no idea what just happened. I just left like got nothing from it kind of a thing just by because I was confused. But this time around, I definitely appreciated it a lot, especially just how it's really well done and well made. So yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I feel
It's
very similar in terms of like my first watch and now too. By the way.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's a little tough because the compare like it's on the same episode as Totoro, so it feels like we're being more negative about it, but it is a really great movie. It's just that I think it feels like when I'm comparing it to Totoro, I just don't personally connect with it as much.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had a different movie on here, maybe it would, you know, it wouldn't feel like we're being as negative because ultimately I really like the movie.
Yeah, I think really the only other things I have real quick is just that it's the movie is like made a big impact on making Japanese animated movies more accessible in America, um, largely in part by John Lasseter, apparently, who was the director of like Toy Story and things like that in early Pixar stuff. Uh, and apparently he like really like uh, campaigned to get, you know, Disney to do a nice big international um, like distribution of the movie, and because of those efforts is why it really blew up, at least, or why it was actually distributed. And because of the efforts, obviously, of Miyazaki and everything, is why it really blew up because it's a great movie. But and I think there's just like it's very fascinating to me that this plays a piece at like a pivotal time uh, in 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 history in this part of cinema, where before this, you know, a lot of American animated movies are like, and we talked a little about this during like Ponyo, where like a lot of American animated movies are more childish and more like there's sometimes there's some theming and everything, right, and all that, but like, you know, uh things like A Bug's Life and Toy Story are very fun movies, and they have some good theming in them and everything. But American like animated movies have like a very different vibe to them, I think, than Japanese animated movies. So it's great that this was able to mark like a transition to having more of a connection there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know when, I don't know if you like know this off the top of your head or if you wrote it down or anything like that, like when Disney and Studio Ghibli sort of like partnered up. I don't know if this was the reason why or if this getting big is because of that and they had that Disney like just the marketing and the name brand of Disney, you know what I mean, was they were able to get it out there to more people. But
Yeah.
also I do think in the 90s and we're barely into the 2000s, but like maybe the audiences were a little more open to weirdness in movies. I don't know. Like I'm thinking like Mulholland Drive came out in 2001 and I don't know that that wasn't as big of a hit as Spirited Away, but it was like relatively popular, especially for such a weird movie. And like in 99, obviously there are a ton of great and varied different types of movies. So I don't know if audiences were a little more like curious or whatever a little more open to things being a little bit left field. Um, or maybe it just was the marketing also. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it happened at probably the crucial time for it to happen, right? Where like
Hmm.
it was both uh like it was both a great movie, so a good time to do it because of that, but also, you know, a more open like audience perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to look it up when the Disney.
Yeah, I did see
Oh,
something
it
about it. I was
says
trying to find, but
apparently 1996 is when they so the Walt Disney and Takuma Shoten, which is a parent company of Studio Ghibli, apparently they entered a partnership in August of 1996. So Disney has the international distribution rights for the Ghibli
there we
animated
go.
films. So
Which is interesting because they didn't release their own dub of My Neighbor Totoro until like I saw like it was like 2000. It was in the 2000s they released a Totoro dub.
yeah, I mean that makes sense. It was probably all after the
Oh, sorry. Wait, you said
partnership.
90,
96.
96.
Yeah, 96.
My brain heard 86.
No.
And I was like, that is like very early. That's crazy. Yeah,
No,
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 96 I
96.
think makes sense. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I think like it's interesting that this plays such like a pivotal piece in that history, but it is also weird. It's strange to me that this is the one that broke through, right? I mean, um, yeah. I mean, I think it's also interesting that it plays an interesting role in there's some like computer aided animation in this. Not a lot, but like there's some scenes like when they're on the train or when they're going through like the there's like trees above them and stuff, where you can notice like some computer aided animation moments. And I think it's interesting too that this is able to embrace some of that without that stuff like taking over, right?
Yeah,
Especially considering again, like Toy Story was 95 and was
4, yeah.
94. And that's like the first time that, you know, computer animation was used for an entire movie. And so it's cool that this hasn't let that take over yet and is still mostly hand drawn, but it does embrace some of that ability too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cool. I don't know. I feel like I've said what I need to say about
Yeah.
Spirited Away. Sorry, it wasn't the most genius and interpretations of the movie and all this type of stuff. There are other podcasts you can
This
find
movie's
probably where
weird.
they talk about
Like,
that. Yeah. Or we're just trying to have a nice fun discussion. But yeah,
yeah.
it is a really great movie and I'm glad I appreciated it more this time around. I gave it 4 stars out of 5.
I also
Yeah.
gave it 4 actually. That's
Look at
funny.
this. Totally
I
agree.
I had been between like 4 and 4.5, but I landed on 4. Um, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have the ratings aggregation for it?
I do. So it's got 96% on both Rotten Tomatoes and audience. So again, there's no discrepancy between critic and audience there. 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb and 4.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which is a 9.15 average on our list, which brings it into that the nines range, which I know I wrote down our
I think
highest one.
Metropolis might be our highest, right?
That's right. And I think that's like 9.2 something potentially.
Hmm. Yeah, this that makes sense that it's slightly more acclaimed than Totoro, I guess. But yeah,
The movie's so weird.
it's a weird movie. But yeah, I'm glad people really like it and so many people love it. I mean that 4.4 on Letterboxd, I think it might be in the top like I know it's in the top 250 obviously, but I think it's like number 20 something or maybe number 30. It's very
Yeah.
very very high up there.
Yeah.
Um so I can
Also,
check.
looking back, Metropolis was actually 8.9.
Oh, okay.
8.9 something. So
Maybe the general.
8.95. This might be I had that marked as the highest when we watched it.
Oh, okay. So
This
Spirited
might
Away is
be
probably the
the I
highest
gotta
then.
put this stuff on like a spreadsheet or something instead of just in my
Yeah.
notes. But I so tentatively speaking, Spirit Away may indeed be the highest average rated movie by our accolades um
Yeah.
that we've watched. Wow.
And right now it's number 30 on the Letterbox top 250 of all time. So
That is very high.
very critically acclaimed. Yeah. I'm not. I don't think it's undeserving of it. You know what I
No,
mean?
no.
Even though I personally don't love it as much. Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think again, it also I think deserves a lot of credit for like you know, being able to embrace like computer aided animation, being able to, break through in like internationally, right? I think like those are big important pieces of what it's able to do. And I think it is very, thematically dense. But yeah, I mean, I think it feels a lot to me like Alice in Wonderland in a way where like it's just so weird and like uh that I think gave me a little bit of pause at times. But I mean, I love the character designs too, though. Like they all look really cool for the most part. Some of them are a little too weird, but for the most part, everything's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess that's that for our Spirited Away Bertotoro episode. Um, Maybe before we pick our next episode, I think we wanted to give a quick shout out to a couple people on Letterboxd. I think we shouted them out in a previous episode,
That's
but
right.
Egg Puddle has been commenting on some of our stuff. Shout out to you, and also at the Eve gave a very thoughtful comment on our Paris, Texas review on Letterboxd. So we appreciate the interaction, and we appreciate you guys watching the show. So thank you for watching and
And
commenting and
commenting.
supporting the show. Yeah.
Yeah, we always like to hear other people's takes, so it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, cool. All right. I mean, should we get into the
It's
next
time.
episode?
It's
It's
time to
time.
pick the
It's
category
time
pick.
to play the game.
Here we
Hold
go, Miyazaki.
on. Yeah, I know, right? Imagine you get Miyazaki. All right. Also, we don't quite know what we're gonna do for our next episode, our next like for the half episode between this one. We're thinking of maybe doing another Miyazaki movie or potentially doing another top five. We'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. But just keeping everyone in the loop, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'll
Here it
see it.
goes.
You know what to do, right? Comment, you know what to do. Subscribe, follow us on your Spotify or your streaming services, and you'll be able to see right when it comes out. But here we go for our next category for our full episodes. This will be episode 15.
Yeah, this is 14, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Movies set on a plane.
On a plane.
Plane
That's
movies. We've done trains. It's time for planes. And
planes and trains now. That's
all
crazy.
all we need is automobiles to finish the trio. Wow,
Oh
interesting.
man,
Set on a
that's
plane.
funny.
First thing that comes to mind, plane. Also, second thing that comes to mind, snakes on a plane.
That is the first thing that came to my mind. Snakes on a plane.
Yeah, I've actually never seen snakes on a plane. So that's that's something.
Yeah. Um, you know what also comes to my mind, but not for a good reason, is Flight Risk, which I for some reason watched a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh
I
man,
never saw that.
don't. Yeah. Oh, you know
I
what
mean
else?
also,
Con Air.
oh, I was gonna say airplane.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Those also work. I've never seen Con Air. That's one of the Nick Cage movies that I probably should see at some point.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Have you seen Top Gun Maverick?
No, no.
It's a banger.
Is it?
It's really good.
I only heard amazing things when it was out, but never
It's
ended up watching it.
it's really, really good. I think Con Air is a good choice.
Yeah.
I could the only thing with Top Gun Maverick is that it's a sequel to Top Gun. I don't even like Top Gun. I don't have any interest in talking about it. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if I particularly want to do Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. That'd be crazy.
no, no, no. That was also Top Gun sucks. I don't like it. Well, yeah, I mean, I think those are both good picks though. If you wanted to do either of those.
Yeah, I just
I
yeah, tough decision between the two. Very different, so it's hard.
Oh shit. We could do Porco Rosso.
To...
It's a pig on a plane. We could do dude, Con Air Porco Rosso. That is like that's a fire episode.
That's crazy. We could. I'm down.
Porco Ron Air. That's incredible. That's that. I mean, I think we have to do it.
It could also be pork on air, and then it's like pork on air almost.
Pork on air. Pork on
Get
air.
it? Pork
That would, yeah. Pork con eroso.
pork pork
Pork con eroso.
pork on air roast. I hate that.
Oh, we have to do it. We have to do it. We
I'm in
have
for
to do
Con
it.
Air and Porcoroso.
All right, fuck it. Let's do it. Con Air Porco Rosso. We want Porco Rosso to be mine. You can have Con Air.
Yeah, yeah. I
All
was
right, hell yeah.
already between Con Air anyways. So and you were itching to find some way to get Porcoroso in the last one. So
I was debating. Porco Rosso was almost chosen. Yeah. We had some options, you know. We were looking at Air Force One, we were looking at Top Gun Maverick, we were looking at Red Eye, we were looking at fucking Snakes on a Plane, you know. But I think we found the perfect combo.
it's settled.
All right.
I'll pick
Por
Con
Con Air
Air.
Rosso.
Yeah, Pork Con Air Rosso. These are
Fuck
gonna get worse and worse, and I'm so sorry.
yeah. That's one of our best. It works just perfectly. Like it's perfect.
Get it though? There's a pork on air. Get it? Pork on air.
Rosso.
Pork on air rosso.
It,
Anyways,
it it's just perfect.
it's perfect. But you know what else is perfect? Is you guys leaving us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the show.
That was a perfect segue. Couldn't have added any better.
Yeah, you guys know
Yeah.
what to do. I mean, if you guys enjoy us, you know, share us around so that other people can enjoy it too. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast streaming sites. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Letterbox. There's links to everything on Letterbox, so go check that out first so you can find everything. If you just Google or you just put Mind Your Movies, all one word, into Letterboxd, you'll see us. Yeah,
Hell yeah. I guess that's it.
that's it. We're excited for next week, whatever it ends up being, and we're super excited for Pork Rosso in 2 weeks. Join us for Movies on a Plane.
Hell yeah.
See you, everyone.